Section 8 of The Blonde Lady. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Leni. The Blonde Lady by Maurice Leblanc. Translated by Alexander Teixeira de Matos. Section 7. The Jewish Lamp, Part 2. On the third day, entering the room above the boudoir, which was used as a schoolroom for the children, he came upon Henriette, the smaller of the two. She was looking for her scissors. "You know," she said to Shears, "I make papers too, like the one you got the other evening." "The other evening?" "Yes, after dinner. You got a paper with strips on it. You know, a telegram. Well, I make them too." She went out. To anyone else these words would have represented only the insignificant observation of a child, and Shears himself listened without paying much attention and continued his inspection. But suddenly he started running after the child, whose last phrase had all at once impressed him. He caught her at the top of the staircase and said: "So you stick strips onto paper also, do you?" Henriette very proudly declared: "Yes, I cut out the words and stick them on." "And who taught you that pretty game?" "Mademoiselle, my governess. I saw her do it. She takes words out of newspapers and sticks them on." "And what does she do with them?" "Makes telegrams and letters, which she sends off." Holmlock Shears returned to the schoolroom, singularly puzzled by this confidence, and doing his utmost to extract from it the inferences of which it allowed. There was a bundle of newspapers on the mantelpiece. He opened them and saw, in fact, that there were groups of words or lines missing, regularly and neatly cut out. But he had only to read the words that came before or after to ascertain that the missing words had been removed with the scissors at random, evidently by Henriette. It was possible that, in the pile of papers, there was one which Mademoiselle had cut herself. But how was he to make sure? Mechanically, Shears turned the pages of the lesson book heaped up on the table, and of some others lying on the shelves of a cupboard. And suddenly a cry of joy escaped him. In a corner of the cupboard, under a pile of old exercise books, he had found a children's album, a sort of picture alphabet, and, in one of the pages of this album, he had seen a gap. He examined the page. It gave the names of the days of the week: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and so on. The word Saturday was missing. Now, the Jewish lamp was stolen on a Saturday night. Shears felt that little clutch at his heart which always told him, in the plainest manner possible, when he had hit upon the knotty point of a mystery. That grip of truth, that feeling of certainty never deceived him. He hastened to turn over the pages of the album, feverishly and confidently. A little further on came another surprise. It was a page consisting of capital letters followed by a row of figures. 9 of the letters and 3 of the figures had been carefully removed. Shears wrote them down in his notebook, in the order which they would have occupied, and obtained the following result: C, D, E, H, N, O, P, R, Z, 237. "By Jove!" he muttered. "There's not much to be made out of that at first sight." Was it possible to rearrange these letters, and employing them all to form 1, 2, or 3 complete words? Shears attempted to do so, in vain. One solution alone suggested itself, returned continually to the point of his pencil, and, in the end, appeared to him the right one, because it agreed with the logic of the facts and also corresponded with the general circumstances. Admitting that the page in the album contained each of the letters of the alphabet once, and once only, it was probable, it was certain that he had to do with incomplete words, and that these words had been completed with letters taken from other pages. Given these conditions, and allowing for the possibility of a mistake, the puzzle stood thus: REPONDZ, CH, 237. The first word was clear: répondez, reply. and E was missing because the letter E, having been once used, was no longer available. As for the last unfinished word, it undoubtedly formed, with the number 237, the address which the sender gave to the receiver of the letter. He was advised to fix the day for Saturday and asked to send a reply to CH237. Either CH237 was the official number of a poste restante, or else the two letters CH formed part of an incomplete word. Shears turned over the leaves of the album. Nothing had been cut from any of the following pages. He must, therefore, until further orders, be content with the explanation hit upon. "Isn't it fun?" Henriette had returned. He replied, "Yes, great fun. Only, haven't you any other papers? Or else some words ready cut out for me to stick on?" "Papers? No. And then mademoiselle wouldn't like it." "Mademoiselle?" "Yes. Mademoiselle has scolded me already." "Why?" "Because I told you things. And she says you must never tell things about people you are fond of." "You were quite right to tell me." Henriette seemed delighted with his approval, so much so that, from a tiny canvas bag pinned on to her frock, she took a few strips of stuff, 3 buttons, 2 lumps of sugar, and lastly, a square piece of paper which she held out to Shears. "There, I'll give it you all the same." It was the number of a cab, number 8279. "Where did you get this from?" "It fell out of her purse." "When?" "On Sunday at mass, when she was taking out some coppers for the collection." "Capital! And now I will tell you how not to get scolded. Don't tell mademoiselle that you have seen me." Shears went off in search of Monsieur d'Imblevalle and asked him straight out about mademoiselle. The baron gave a start. "Alice Demun, would you think? Oh, impossible!" "How long has she been in your service?" "Only 12 months, but I know no quieter person, nor any in whom I place more confidence." "How is it that I have not yet seen her?" "She was away for 2 days." "And at present?" "Immediately on her return, she took up her position by your friend's bedside. She is a first-rate nurse, gentle, attentive. Mr. Wilson seems delighted with her." "Oh," said Shears, who had quite omitted to inquire after old chap's progress. He thought for a moment and asked, "And did she go out on Sunday morning?" "The day after the robbery?" "Yes." The baron called his wife and put the question to her. She replied, "Mademoiselle took the children to the 11 o'clock mass, as usual." "But before that?" "Before, no. Or rather... but I was so upset by the theft. Still, I remember that, on the evening before, she asked leave to go out on Sunday morning, to see a cousin who was passing through Paris, I think. But surely you don't suspect her?" "Certainly not, but I should like to see her." He went up to Wilson's room. A woman dressed like a hospital nurse, in a long grey linen gown, was stooping over the sick man and giving him a draught. When she turned round, Shears recognized the girl who had spoken to him outside the Gare du Nord. Not the slightest explanation passed between them. Alice Demun smiled gently, with her grave and charming eyes, without a trace of embarrassment. The Englishman wanted to speak, tried to utter a syllable or two, and was silent. Then she resumed her task, moved about peacefully before Shears's astonished eyes, shifted bottles, rolled and unrolled linen bandages, and again gave him her bright smile. Shears turned on his heels, went downstairs, saw Monsieur d'Imblevalle's motor in the courtyard, got into it, and told the chauffeur to drive him to the yard at Levallois, of which the address was marked on the cab ticket given him by the child. Dupré, the driver who had taken out number 8279 on Sunday morning, was not there, and Shears sent back the motor car and waited until he came to change horses. Dupré, the driver, said yes, he had taken up a lady near the Parc Monceau, a young lady in black, with a big veil on her. She seemed very excited. "Was she carrying a parcel?" "Yes, a longish parcel." "And where did you drive her to?" "Avenue de Ternes, at the corner of the Place Saint-Ferdinand. She stayed for 10 minutes or so, and then we went back to the Parc Monceau." "Would you know the house again in the Avenue de Ternes?" "Rather. Shall I take you there?" "Presently. Go first to 36 Quai des Orfèvres. At the police headquarters,